Okay, this is my 1960 Volkswagen Beetle. Wanted to make this video for a shifting issue that I was having, and I was not able to find a similar video on YouTube specifically for 1960 and earlier bugs. So what the issue was is shifting into first, second, and reverse, I'd get a really loud grinding sound. It would shift into gear, it's just it would always grind every time I'd start to put it into one of those gears. So doing some research on the Samba, I found a lot of people pointed me to the shift rod bushing, which is this round white plastic bushing that 1961 and newer bugs had, that your shift rod would go through and sort of, I guess, help guide the shift rod and keep it in place. Well, 1960 and earlier bugs don't have that, so that was not my issue. It was also suggested to check the stop plate, and Chris Vallone of Classic VW Bugs, he has a great video on adjusting the stop plate. So I did that, adjusted it a few different times, didn't really change anything for me. So then someone had suggested the shift coupler, which is what we're looking at here. And again, I think 1961 and newer bugs, the shift rod coupler looks quite a bit different than this. So they did another redesign. And so this is what I'm working with. And I saw one other video on YouTube where the guy, his coupler was failing and he was moving, pulling the shift rod back, and this was moving in and out. Mine's not doing that, mine's really tight. So I kept digging, and someone had said, okay, well, these bolts need to be safety wired, and if those get loose, the bolts can kind of wear into your lever and your shift rod, and that can cause a problem. These were safety wired, they just weren't done the right way. But once I got these bolts off, there's no issue with the where it touches the lever or the shift rod. Those were both fine. And as a quick side note, and I got this from another YouTube video, this 5/16 square head socket, I got it on Amazon, it's like $7 or $8, fits these bolts perfectly. And it's better just to get this and use it instead of trying to make a different tool work, because you'll probably end up just rounding these bolts off. And they're a special kind of bolt because they have these holes running through them. They're meant for being secured with safety wire. So anyway, all of that was okay, but when I was in here, I noticed that these two pieces were sitting down under the shift rod coupler. And what these are, this is actually one nose cone bushing. And so what ended up happening, I'm guessing, is that this just wore out over time and broke in two and worked its way down the shift lever and then fell in here. So after I noticed that, I started lifting up and down on the shift rod, and this whole thing just moved up and down. So I thought maybe that's my issue. I checked with some guys on Samba, and they're like, yeah, that's probably what's going on. So I went ahead and ordered these nose cone bushings from Wolfsburg West, and comes with two, because in 1960 and maybe even earlier bugs, you have to have two of these things. There's one way in the nose cone, and then there's one right at the front of the nose cone, and I'll try to show it to you here. It's hard to see. It's kind of hard to get to that angle, but you can kind of see it there. See if I can get the camera to, yeah, there we go. So there, yeah, so right there where you see that nose cone seal, there's one of the bushings is there. So mine was missing, and so I needed to replace that. And it was suggested that, well, you're gonna have to take your transmission out to replace that. But I didn't want to do that, and I thought maybe I could do it without taking the transmission out. And there was somebody else on the Samba that agreed that I could probably do it that way. But no, there was no information on this on the Samba. There's no information on YouTube about this, so that's why I'm making this video. But anyway, I ended up taking the coupler off, dropping the shift rod down, sliding the new nose cone bushing on with a little bit of grease, and I was able to get it in most of the way by hand, but it was still sticking out just a little tiny bit. So in my DIY, my usual DIY ways, I found this coupler. I don't know what I have it for, but I found it in my loose parts bin. It's a 3/4 and 1 inch coupler for like a rubber hose or something like that, and this actually fit perfectly over the shift lever. So what I ended up doing was sliding this over the shift lever, pushing it all the way back to the coupler, and then I just took this my crescent wrench here, hooked it over there, and then just tapped it in with this hammer here. Just softly just tapped the bushing in, and it went in all the way. It's flush with the nose cone seal, and what's great is now this doesn't move up and down at all. So I think that fixed the issue. And then of course I'm gonna safety wire it again. I got this 20 gauge steel wire. I've seen some videos on how to do this. I've never done it before. I may make a video on how to do it for this specific application. Yeah, so I'm gonna safety wire these, make sure they're in tight, and put everything back together and see if this does the trick, and I'll make a follow-up video for that. So anyway, thanks for watching.